Hi everybody, it's crazy. It's Monday and it's time for the UPBGE video week. Now before I get started, I gotta give a shout out to my trusted kids, you guys rock. To my crazy fam, I love you guys. And to my patrons, thank you for your continued support. Now, we left off last week when we finished up, we were going to the armature. Okay, so I'm gonna read a little bit about this. I'm actually going to switch over to here for y'all so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Okay, the action actuator is not the only way of moving and controlling your armature. With the help of bone constraints, armatures can perform autonomous interacting with other objects. Together with the armature sensor, this actuator was originally created for robotic simulations. Nevertheless, these kinds of non-baked pre-done bone animations can serve multiple purposes. For a proper explanation on when this can be used and how it works, please refer to the ITASC section in Chapter 4 Animation. Okay, and it also has a, if I can do it right here, there we go. Okay, you can go to this site right here, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring it up. Okay, and switch over to it. You'll wind up coming to this page right here. Now, the only problem with this is that they actually put it in the archive. So if you click on this, you will actually get this, you will finally get to the correct page. This is no longer being used anymore. It doesn't really need to be used, so they took it off the Wiki Blender and put it over here in the archive section of it. Okay, so you can always come here and take a look at all the stuff that it was talking about if you want to learn more about this little guy. All right, also there is, this one here tells you more pages you can go to and all kinds of neat stuff you can do in modeling, you know, in animation, so on and so forth. Scripting, sculpting, painting, you name it. I mean, all kinds of good stuff in there. All right. So let's switch on back over to here. All right, so let's continue on. The actuator modes are as follows. You got the run armature. Runs the simulation in this armature, okay? So this will run the simulation that you did with this armature, okay? Enable and disable. Takes a bone and a bone constraint as arguments. It allows you to control when this particular constraint should run. Okay? Set influence. Sets the influence of a bone constraint dynamically. All right, so that's a pretty good one. We'll get farther into these later on. Okay, set weight. Sets the weight of the IK influence in a bone. That's inverse kinetics for all, you know, all those people who don't know what IK actually means. I was one of them for a while there too. I wasn't really too much into animation. Okay, set target. Sets the target for a bone constraint. When using the inverse kinematic constraint, you can also set the secondary target, also known as a polar target. Okay, so when you set your bone, okay, you can also set the constraint. Yay! Okay, dynamic constraints. This actuator only works for armature objects. So you notice that I've got it set on an armature, but if I came over here to the cube, there is no armature and there is no armature. Okay, you cannot run armatures off something that is not actually a bone or an armature. Okay, if you want to drive some of the bone parameters, for example, a bone constraint influence, you need to have an active armature actuator with the run and armature option. You can find an example of set influence with run armature in the sample file book, chapter 3, influence underscore dynamic dot blend. That's in the files that you got when you first originally got the book. If you're not going from the book, then you actually have to go to the GitHub, which is in the link in the description. You can follow it down there and go to it and download the files. I would also suggest you download the book as well, because that does actually help you keep along, and you can always look back on it and try to figure out a little bit more stuff before we get to this. Okay, so the next one I'm going to do is the camera. And this is also another dynamic type of actuator, because you can run the camera actuator, but you can also run the camera actuator on this, on anything, including an armature. Look, see, there's one right there too you can do. So you can do it on any one of them. Okay, the camera actuator will move your object, usually your active camera, behind the specified axis X or Y of the camera object. Okay, if the front part of your object is its y-axis, because the front part of your object is its y-axis, because this is the one used in the final alignment. So whichever way the positive direction of your character is facing, which is usually the positive y, it will automatically set for that. Okay, and I'm going to kick back over to camera for that. All right, so usually it's just set to the positive y. You may want to have the camera set to the X, or the negative of those two. The more you activate it, will not act right away though. The more you activate it, the closer you get from the specified parameters, minimum, maximum, and height. After reaching the target, your object will keep bobbing while making sure it keeps itself inside the distance determined by the min and max range. Breathing. It's a really good one, because of the fact that your camera is going to bob because you want it to breathe. Instead of doing an animation for breathing, you can actually make the camera bob. Okay, so tips. If you are looking to change the active camera, keep looking. So in other words, if you want to change the active camera, which is this guy right here, you're good. If you are trying to change the active camera of the scene, please look at the scene actuator. That would be this little guy right here, and set scene. Okay, set camera. I'm sorry. You want to set the camera for that scene, and then it'll tell you the camera object. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, we only got 7 minutes into this. Okay, so this is going to be kind of a short one, because I'm going to switch over here. Oops. This one, so you can see the constraint has got a lot to go by, and I'm trying to keep them between 10 and 15 minutes, and that's quite a bit. So we're going to go ahead and save that for, let me scroll back up here for just a moment. There we go. We're going to save that for next week. We're going to leave it off here, and we'll go ahead and end it there for today. In chapter 4, we're going to go a lot into animations, and you're going to be playing a lot with armatures and stuff like that. So you're going to learn a lot more with that too. These are just some of the touch-based points to get you to understand it a little bit better. And then it's going to go into more detail when we start to build games and stuff like that. And that one's going to, we built one game already. So, you're already ahead of the game because you built the game. But you're going to go into more complex game building. And, and you never stop learning, so don't stop learning. So we're going to leave it there for this week. And we'll see y'all next time.